I am in the process right now of seeing to it that we rehabilitate these apartments, that we are going to have a program to get it done, so that people who want to have not just shelter but a home, and are willing to work and pay for it, and have the ability to do it, but haven't been able to find a home or a place that they can afford, are going to be able to do it. That's the kind of structural change that I'm talking about. No more excuses to keep it from happening, but to get together and begin the public works program that sees that it's going to take place. So we're going to have that. We're going to have those apartments. Those hundreds of apartments are going to be made people ready as soon as it's physically possible for me to do it. We intend to put together a $1 billion plus program of public works directly related to housing, education, hospitals, transportation, all the essential core services. That's the goal that we have, and that's the direction that we're moving in. So the gentleman's perfectly correct. We have to have those apartments ready. And as for people coming in from elsewhere, you know, I'm not prepared right at the moment to go to this particular Supreme Court in Washington and ask them to continue to support a progressive Hawaii. But I think what we are prepared to do is to change some of the rules. You can't just drive in Hawaii anymore. You can right now. I'm going to change some of the rules and regulations, or do my best to change them, so that if you've been on a waiting list for the opportunity to better yourself and get out of a shelter, out of homelessness and into a home, that you're going to be able to do it, and not move people who just came tomorrow to the front of the line on the basis that they just registered for and are able to push other people out of line. So whether it's in rules and regulations that need to be changed, or whether it's in the actual physical circumstances that we're going to address, you can rest assured that this administration is going to tackle the issue with dispatch.
Governor, on that note, have you thought, this is a question on the same topic, so have you thought about campgrounds for homeless folks? Not for, I guess in this way, it's trailer parks.
I've thought about it. Of course, we've thought about it. I mean, because it's, again, I think it's a good-hearted thought. But I'm going to let Mark comment on what our policy is with that question.
Well, I think first off, we do not want to take shortcuts. We want to do the right thing for the right reasons in the right way. The governor's committed to doing that. These short-term solutions that some people have proposed, for example, safe havens for tents, and even some of the trailer parks, in the long run, these things are not cost effective. For example, I was just at a meeting today, Habitat for Humanity, and they've changed some of the way they build homes now. It's no longer what's cheapest, but what is in the long run most cost effective. And so we're going to look at it. For example, the governor just was at the dedication of Seawinds out in Waianae. Beautiful project. 50 new facilities available for transitional shelter and permanent housing. Well done, dignified, treating human beings as human beings. And we're going to replicate that kind of project through more community partnerships, private and government partnerships. We need to do it the right way. We know it needs to be done, and we're going to do it the right way with the governor's leadership.
Some of you folks are familiar with the military housing and the law that I helped put together with bipartisan support in the Congress. It wasn't a Republican Democrat thing. It wasn't conservative, progressive or liberal, or whatever other designation you use to call somebody a name these days. We didn't do any of that. We took public land and we took private enterprise and we put it together, and what we said was, if you build it, maintain it, and manage it, we'll give you a lease for 50 years to help you get the financing and the proper support to see that that happens. We won't need campgrounds when we have housing for everybody. This administration is committed to workforce housing. We are going to join together across the state to see to it that our people are able to have housing, not speculative real estate, housing that is going to be for them in their work lives and in their families and in our communities here across Hawaii. That's the central most thing. I talked to the mortgage bankers this morning about it. It's crystal clear that having a home and the security associated with that home and the capacity to afford it and sustain it is fundamental to the dignity of everybody who wants to raise and keep a family. So we're going to take up issues, for example, the Board of Education shortly will be dealing with the question, why aren't we building housing on this real estate? There are plenty of schools with acreage around it that could sustain housing. For example, we can build teacher housing. Why should the rural areas or the so-called outer urban areas, even on this island, have to have teachers have to go an hour and a half or 2 hours commuting, as if they were in Manhattan or something of that nature? We need to take the idea that we can build housing for teachers and staff in the areas where they are and build it right on the grounds that are there. We can get the developers who want to do that, who are truly interested in building communities rather than making immediate profits and running away. People who are interested in building, maintaining, and managing properties because they're committed to those communities, getting them into operation. We're going to go full force at the housing question and see to it that workforce housing for our people, our working middle class, is going to be a reality.
All right, I want to thank everybody for holding tight. We're getting through a lot of your questions. Another big issue that came up was growing our own food, importation. How many of you are concerned about that, importing? And Governor, there were a lot of questions on this issue, as you can see.
Okay.
In fact, I actually wanted to read this. I'm not sure if it was Mataroo, but it says here, went to Sheila's grocery store the other day, tried to find local Hawaiian produce, but it was difficult to say the least and very disappointing. How can we get more produce, local produce, in our grocery stores? And to that end, I'll add the other question as well, very similar. What's being done to make changes in Hawaii from being an importer to an exporter?
Well, I'll start with work from the last batch. We are doing some exports now. It's niche industries, right, at the moment that are out there. And what we want to do is the Department of Business and Economic Development is working right now. We're working with the Department of Consumer Affairs and so on that has some of the regulations coming around public television, public access, and working on internet issues and broadband issues. What we intend to do is see to it that our agricultural industries, which are entrepreneurial and for the most part niche at the moment, are able to be out there. People want coffee from Hawaii, not just Kona coffee, by the way, anymore. Kau coffee, Molokai coffee, Hawaii coffee. We are making tremendous progress in these industries. Flowers elsewhere that are providing livings for people. I cannot tell you the number of young people who want to farm, but they have to be able to do it in a business-like fashion. As my friend Richard Hahn, the Big Island, says over and over again, he who's a farmer who's growing many of the tomatoes that you're enjoying, and was a pioneer in that effort. He said, if you're not if you're farming and you're not in the business of farming, you're gardening. There's nothing wrong with gardening. And I'll tell you, not only nothing wrong with gardens, but we've tried to symbolize that. My wife was instrumental in working to see to it that we have started the first gardens, herb and fruit trees and vegetables at Washington Place right now. We dedicated it on Saturday to my mother-in-law, Ellen Caraway, who just recently passed away, and who gave her love of gardening to my wife. Set an example for me about it. We are in the process then. I grant you it's symbolic, of course. Although we're getting our cilantro and some tomatoes, and I'm even going to try and grow a little corn there. We're growing papaya. We planted an ava to symbolize. It's only one plant, but the point is we knew it had to be there to help bless what we were doing. I'm holding in my hand right now the South Maui School Gardens Project. When I gave the graduation speech over at the University of Hawaii in Maui Community College, my lunch was provided by the kids at South Maui School Gardens Project. Every single morsel of food that I ate was grown in Hawaii. Every single morsel was grown in Hawaii and grown by these kids. 6 things you can do to help Hawaii's gardens thrive. This is coming from the kids now. Aren't we ashamed of ourselves we haven't already done this? A garden at every school, farm to school, garden to school, living classrooms, put it in the curriculum, and wellness and organic produce for all. right now, Sunset Beach Elementary School. I've been out there. They are growing so much food in the garden out at Sunset Beach Elementary that they're participating in the farmer's market with the extra produce to raise money for the schools. This is not, again, it's not just a human interest story, a feel-good story. This is going on all over the state. Jody Arad is here tonight, the head of our Department of Public Safety. I can tell you right now, when you see stories in the paper about unwanted weight loss, well, that's a new affliction for me, by the way. I don't know about the struggle you have, but you know, unwanted weight loss is something I really can't quite figure out, and I really can't figure it out in a prison setting. So we're in the process of changing the diet approach in our hospitals, in our schools, and in the prison system. Very shortly, we'll be coming out with a complete prospectus for you to consider with regard to new prison facilities to make sure that we keep all the prisoners. We don't want more prisoners in Hawaii, but if somebody has to go away, we want to keep them in Hawaii so that we can try and keep the families together and give them a chance to straighten their lives out. They're going to be growing their own food. They're going to be making an effort to grow as much food as we can, and we're going to change the diet around. We're going to be doing things like trying to purchase, right now, believe it or not, pineapple is still part of the landscape, the agricultural landscape in Hawaii. We should be purchasing pineapples for our schools, for our hospitals, for the prison system, for our public facilities, right here in Hawaii. We have to change some of the rules around. Right now, Charlene will tell you that the procurement rules for the Department of Education are such, it's cheaper to buy things from the mainland, it's easier to buy things from the mainland, the push is to buy things from the mainland rather than buy locally. I'm not saying all this is necessarily going to be cheaper. What I am saying to you is we need to decide whether or not we want cheap stuff that comes from some other place with somebody else making decisions for us, or whether we want to invest in ourselves and pay what it takes to be independent and dignified here in the center of the city. We're committed. Russell Kokobon, who is one of the principal authors of the 2050 approach, has a very integrated approach to agriculture. My departments are meeting what we call clusters now. We're trying to integrate agriculture. We're trying to integrate public safety. We're trying to immigrate. There may be some of that coming. I don't know if we don't make it. But integrate our facilities management in such a way as to combine programs and operations so that we can accomplish this. Agricultural security is fundamental. I think we need to see it as an investment. I hope you do too.
You covered a lot of questions in there. There was a question about inmates and what you're doing, so thank you for addressing that. What besides the economy has been your biggest obstacle in getting your vision and goals accomplished?
I really don't think of it as, I'm the biggest obstacle. No, I'm the biggest obstacle. Because I think it's very important that I remind myself, it's one of the reasons I'm here tonight. I need to remind myself, and you're helping me to do that, that I need to be a catalyst in this. This is not about me. If I've said my administration, I apologize to you. It's ours, and I'm not doing that to be arch and to make it something that I can congratulate myself on. It's very, very important that you see the government and see this administration as an institution that works for you. That's I think the principal, maybe obstacle is not the right word. The principal barrier is what's in our heads, what we think about ourselves. And I start with me. I have to make certain that I reflect what I know the reason is for you being here tonight. You could be doing lots of other things. I don't know if American Idol is still on TV tonight or something, but you know, there's lots of ways to distract yourself with entertainment. There's all kinds of things out there that could attract our momentary attention, but you're here tonight. What that means to me is